Where radar information alone is used in making a landfall, the ship's position may be in considerable doubt and it may be difficult to positively identify specific echoes, particularly if the observer is unfamiliar with the locality. In routine coastal navigation there may be more general certainty as to the vessel's position, but effective use of these techniques will require organization, skill, practice and a thorough awareness of the capability of the radar system. GPS has become the preferred position-fixing method, with other methods are to confirm the position indicated by the GPS. And alternate means of navigation are only considered in case of GPS failure. The ability of a navigator to make use of the radar in these circumstances requires a certain amount of skill and experience, so the prudent navigators should be performing these tasks to confirm their position even when GPS is operational. Radar has the advantage that all the equipment is on board the vessel, while GPS requires signals from an external source. It is important to appreciate the limitations of a radar set when interpreting the information obtained from it. In general, the ranges or distances obtained from navigational radar are more accurate than the bearings on account of radar beam width. Therefore, if only radar information is available, the best fixes will come from 3 or more radar ranges as position lines. The image of the land appearing the screen is different from the nautical chart of the area. The image is different because certain features on the shore will not return echoes because they are blocked from the radar beam by other physical features or obstructions. The navigator must understand the characteristics of radar propagation, the capabilities of his radar set, the reflecting properties of different types of radar targets and the ability to analyze his chart to determine which charted features are most likely to reflect the transmitted pulses or to be blocked, in order to interpret the image on his screen. Experience gained during clear weather comparison between radar and visual images is invaluable. Land masses are generally recognizable because of the steady brilliance of the relatively large areas painted on the screen. Also, land should be at positions expected from the ship's navigational position. Although land masses are readily recognizable, the primary problem is the identification of specific land features. Identification of specific features can be quite difficult because of various factors, including distortion resulting from beam width and pulse length, and uncertainty as to just which charted features are reflecting the echoes. If the land rises in a gradual, regular manner from the shoreline, no part of the terrain produces an echo that is stronger than the echo from any other part. As a result, a general haze of echoes appears on the P, and it is difficult to ascertain the range to any particular part of the land. Blotchy signals are returned from hilly ground, because the crest of each hill returns a good echo although the valley beyond is in a shadow. If high receiver gain is used, the pattern may become solid except for the very deep shadows. Sizable land masses may be missing from the radar display because of certain features being blocked from the radar beam by other features. A shoreline which is continuous on the P display when the ship is at one position, may not be continuous when the ship is at another position and scanning the same shoreline. The radar beam may be blocked from a segment of this shoreline by an obstruction such as a promontory. An indentation in the shoreline, such as a cove or bay, appearing on the P when the ship is at one position, may not appear when the ship is at another position nearby. Thus, radar shadow alone can cause considerable differences between the P display and the chart presentation. Navigators have to try and determine which features of the shoreline are actually represented by the echoes shown on the screen. Where low-lying shore, like a beach, is being scanned, there may be considerable uncertainty. Smooth, clear beaches normally do not appear on the screen at ranges beyond 1 or 2 miles because these targets have almost no area that can reflect energy back to the radar. Ranges determined from these targets are not reliable. If waves are breaking, echoes may be returned from the surf. Waves may, however, break well out from the actual shoreline, so that ranging on the surf may be misleading. Mudflats and marshes normally reflect radar pulses only a little better than a sand spit. The weak echoes received at low tide disappear at high tide. Mangroves and other thick growth may produce a strong echo. Areas that are indicated as swamps on a chart, therefore, may return either strong or weak echoes, depending on the density type and size of the vegetation growing in the area. When sand dunes are covered with vegetation and are well back from a low, smooth beach, the apparent shoreline determined by radar appears as the line of the dunes rather than the true shoreline. Under some conditions, sand dunes may return strong echo signals because the combination of the vertical surface of the vegetation and the horizontal beach may form a sort of corner reflector. Lagoons and inland lakes usually appear as blank areas on a P because the smooth water surface returns no energy to the radar antenna. In some instances, the sandbar or reef surrounding the lagoon may not appear on the P because it lies too low in the water. Coral atolls and long chains of islands may produce long lines of echoes when the radar beam is directed perpendicular to the line of the islands. This indication is especially true when the islands are closely spaced. The reason is that the spreading resulting from the width of the radar beam causes the echoes to blend into continuous lines. When the chain of islands is viewed lengthwise, or obliquely, however, each island may produce a separate return. Surf breaking on a reef around an atoll produces a ragged, variable line of echoes. Coral atolls and long chains of islands may produce long lines of echoes when the radar beam is directed perpendicular to the line of the islands. This indication is especially true when the islands are closely spaced. The reason is that the spreading resulting from the width of the radar beam causes the echoes to blend into continuous lines. When the chain of islands is viewed lengthwise, or obliquely, however, each island may produce a separate return. Surf breaking on a reef around an atoll produces a ragged, variable line of echoes. If the radar horizon is between the transmitting vessel and the target, the lower part of the target will not be visible. A large vessel may appear as a small craft, or a shoreline may appear at some distance inland. The distance of the radar horizon, under average atmospheric conditions over the sea, is little more than 1/3 greater than the optical horizon. It varies with the height of the antenna. Echoes from several targets of the same size may be quite different in appearance. A metal surface reflects radio waves more strongly than a wooden surface. A surface perpendicular to the beam returns a stronger echo than a non-perpendicular one. A vessel seen broadside returns a stronger echo than one heading directly toward or away. Some surfaces absorb most radar energy rather than reflecting it.